There was a recent Grandmaster game played between Etienne Bacrot and Jonathan Speelman, and while trying to find that game on the internet, I accidentally came across a game that they played 25 years earlier, and I found it more interesting. Such are the joys of the internet, you just never know what you're going to find. In fact, maybe that's how you ended up here. You were searching YouTube for funny chess videos, and you accidentally got this one. Oh, you see what I did there? Okay, before we get to this absolutely mental game, do the kids still say that? Please hit the subscribe button, because maybe you'll see the other video I meant to do at a later date. Okay, what we're going to do in this video is count the number of times that the Grandmasters break my rules and they just don't care. We're going to keep a little scoreboard. Okay, so here we go. So far the game starts out pretty normally, some sort of King's Indian type defense. Maybe now it's a Benoni. Uh-oh, pawn f5. Jonathan Speelman has pushed his pawn without my written permission. That's one broken rule for black. Okay. Oh, what does white do? White catches up. One broken rule for white. White is pushing pawns on the side of the board, not the center. Wow, it really is a race to the bottom in this game. Oh, what is black doing? Black is giving away the bishop pair. That's another broken rule. And because all of these pawns are on light squares, black is weakening his dark squares by getting rid of his better bishops. That's two broken rules in one move. I think it's 3-1 in favor of black. I'm not sure if we call that in favor, but okay. Just take a look at the chessboard here. The Grandmasters are 6 moves in, and nobody has a piece off the back row. Now, luckily, black fixes that by playing knight f6, and then white pushes a pawn on the side of the board again. Now, white already broke that rule once, so we're not going to give white double credit or double demerit. But in any case, the point of this move is that if the knight takes, white's going to play a move like e4, discover attack on the knight, and if black keeps on eating pawns, then white will take, and oh, the horror. The king has to go to f8, and then after bishop to h6 check, it's actually going to be mate in a couple of moves. We're not even going to get to it, but you can see that the emperor has no clothes. So if we go back, instead of taking the pawn, black played rook g8. Uh-oh, another broken rule because black forgot to castle. It's 4-1. Black is leading in the broken rules department. Quick trade, and then queen c2. Wait a minute. White is developing his queen before any of his minor pieces. We're not supposed to do that. Count it as a broken rule. White's got 2 broken rules now. Okay, now black starts to finally figure some stuff out. Finally some reasonable moves for both sides. And then in this position, black plays knight b6. Now, I haven't gone over this much in ChessKid land, but knights almost never belong on b3 and b6. Those 2 squares, they often cannot get back in the game. So let's count it as a broken rule, even though it might be kind of a new rule for you. Okay, now white plays e3, because white, of course, wanted to defend the pawn. But then knight goes to the side. Knight on the rim is dim. Give black another broken rule. I can't even count. I think it's 6-2. Black has more broken rules than white. Okay, now white defends the pawn. Black breaks another rule. These are doubled pawns, and black decides to offer a trade of one of white's weak pawns, trading a healthy pawn, one over here on b5, for a weak pawn. That's another broken rule. Put it on the scoreboard. Okay, queen moves to the square d2. We had a quick trade. No, actually, white does not even take the pawn. White decides to open the center with the king still in the center. Yeah, that's a no-no. Broken rule. Give it to me, white. That's 3 for white. And now black invades, and the queen moves up, and black moves the knight back, and then this knight hops in. And then we had this fancy sacrifice, another sacrifice, but you know what? Once the other rook for white has moved, white can no longer castle. That's the rules. So because white failed to castle, we need to give white his 4th broken rule of the game. And after takes, check, king over, takes. Then we had takes, and the queen moves up, and we have no more broken rules. Actually, I missed one, kind of. I'm not going to count this for black, but if we go back to this position, after white took, white was actually threatening mate, and we often say, or I often say, don't answer an attack with an attack. Now, technically, this does answer an attack with an attack, but because it defends the checkmate, it doesn't really count as a broken rule. Maybe a half a broken rule? No, we won't even count it. That's just a good move by black. And actually, white is in big trouble here. The game ended. I'm just going to show you a couple more moves, and then the queen moves back to the square b1. Bishop moves. The knight's in big trouble. White gives away a pawn, and after takes knight here, the bishop moves to e6, and if you've seen my video about putting pieces in jail. It's kind of like that. In chess, we call this domination. The bishop attacks all of these squares, which are the squares the knight wants to use, so the knight is essentially trapped. And actually, white just threw in the towel in this position because white is down a couple of pawns, this knight is totally trapped, and white's second rank is completely weak with his king still stuck in the middle of the board. So what's our final tally? I think I count 4 broken rules for white, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 broken rules for black. Actually, maybe 7. I don't even know what the scoreboard says, but I do know that black won the game anyway. So why don't you just take everything I ever said and throw it out the window? No, just kidding. When you become a grandmaster, you can break the rules, but until then, you might want to follow a few things that I say.